Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary on Nantucket. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. My day job is as an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell. I do nothing but elder law, and I come to Nantucket every other week, but right now I'm not there, dying to get there tomorrow. Although one of our guests just told me the wind's supposed to be 90 miles an hour, so I am a little worried about this. But anyway, but as people keep saying, bad weather is bad everywhere. Good weather is better on Nantucket. That's what Alison Forsgren told me. So the point of this show, though, is really not about elder law. It's about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've seen my presentations before, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if that means you're on Nantucket, you don't want to go anyplace else. You don't want to go to the mainland. God forbid, you don't want to go to Martha's Vineyard. You want to be right on Nantucket. And so the point is, who are the people you need to know? What are the programs you need to know about if that's your goal in life? So the people you need to know are people who are like you, among other things, right? So Alison has two great folks just like that as our special guests today. Alison, whom do we have?
Well, thank you, Arthur, for the introduction. Today we are celebrating the Seniors of the Year 2021. They were elected back last May. We had a record number of applications or nominations for this honor this past year, and our winners are Ritch Leone for the Senior Man of the Year and Joanne Polster for the Senior Woman of the Year. So it's been a long time, a very different kind of celebration. We didn't even have in 2020 Seniors of the Year due to the pandemic, but we went ahead. Things have changed. We have not had the luncheon that we generally have to celebrate. More news on that after tomorrow's Board of Health meeting regarding mask mandates. So there might be some new news. But we are here to greet and celebrate Ritch Leone and Joanne Polster. So Arthur has a question that he likes to ask. Why don't you go ahead and start with Joanne and get your questions out of the way?
Sure. So Joanne, for folks who've been watching this show, they know that, I very seldom say anything. I just try to provide comic relief, but I do. Alison has fed me this question, which is apropos for me because I'm not from Nantucket, which was like, how did you get here? And as we were discussing before the show, that's especially apropos today, because I think that, one of our points here is to really give people a sense of who you are, because you're the Senior of the Year. So kind of, and who you are is I bet I'm not quite as old as you, but getting close. But who you are is really kind of who you were and how you came to be. So how did you get here? In general, how did you find your way to the island, and how did you get to be the person who ended up being the Senior of the Year?
I came to Nantucket in 1954 on my honeymoon. My husband, Max, had...
That's not possible. I was 4 years old. That's not possible.
Well, it is possible. My husband, Max, had grown up in Boston, and he knew Nantucket because one of his friends was caretaker of the mill during the summer. And so he and friends used to come up to visit, and one of the friends had a house here, and so they didn't have big expenditures. When we were married in 1954, we had no money. Things were very tight. We both had jobs, but in those days jobs didn't pay very well. So we couldn't really go on the quote unquote honeymoon trip. So he said, well, why don't we go to Nantucket? And this was May, and in New York, May is a very hot month.
So I want everybody to remember that line. Talk about something that hasn't been heard for a long time. We can't afford a big honeymoon. Why don't we go to Nantucket? What an amazing concept that is. So
yes,
so you came.
That's true. Right.
So you came on your honeymoon.
So at any rate, he found a room for us on Fair Street with Mrs. Brownell, and there are stories attached to that. We came here, as I say, in May. It was Memorial Day. The minute I stepped off the boat, I knew I was in a special place. Coming from the city, I'd never been anywhere else except to Cape Cod, with buildings and streets and so forth, and to come into this magical place with little houses, beautiful little houses, cobblestone streets. It was just magic. And I knew I had to somehow stay here. And that's how I got to Nantucket.
That's incredible, Joanne. That's
Following year we came to Nantucket for our vacation, and I knew we had to start looking for a place because my husband was a musician and he really needed a piano. As I remember, we used to roam the streets sometimes at night and just to listen if there was anybody playing a piano anywhere. So we decided that if we were going to come here on our vacation, we would have to have a piano, and if you have a piano, then you have to have a house. And so we started looking for a house, but that's a whole other story. So that's not, that was.
And I've never also heard of somebody shopping for a house as the place to locate the piano.
Yeah, well.
Usually it kind of goes the other way, you know, you're kind of putting.
We're a strange bunch.
Right. It's like the cart and the horse story, you know.
That's exactly. Or the tail wagging the dog.
Right. So when did you finally end up, or must have vacationed here for a long time and then you finally figured out how to move?
No. In those days, in the 1950s, you could buy a house with your checkbook, today's checkbook. There were houses available for sale that you could buy a house on the cliff for $19,000. It was just another time. So we started looking the second year that we were here, the year after our honeymoon, we started looking for a house. And Gladys Wood, I don't know if any of you know her, Gladys Wood was our real estate person. And so we just looked at these huge houses. We knew nothing about houses, and we didn't find anything that we thought we could afford. $19,000 was a lot of money in those days. So we came the second year and started looking again. One day we were caught in a rainstorm, and to get out of the rainstorm, we dodged into this little gift shop opposite the Athenaeum, run by two elderly ladies, one of whom was Carrie Miller. And in the course of conversation, we asked her, we're looking for a house. Do you know anybody who has a place? And she said, yes, as a matter of fact, I have a place. And the next following day, my husband went with the key to see this place. And I have to tell you, we had been looking at houses, big houses. He comes rushing back to the room and says, I have found the place. And so I went with him. And what was the place? It was a two-car garage with a studio apartment. And of course, as a young bride, I knew I didn't argue with my husband. If he thought this was the place, then that was the place. We put down $40 deposit and asked the real estate, the man who was handling the real estate, we asked him, so where do we get a mortgage? And he said the Nantucket Bank. So we went to the Nantucket Bank. This was Friday. We were leaving the next day. So $40 was all we had left. There were no checking accounts in those days. And so we went to the bank, spoke to Alkin Chadwick, gave him the information he wanted, and he said, I'll let you know next week. The following week, I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, we got a call that our application had been accepted. And so we became officially Nantucket residents.
So they had phones back then, huh, Joanne?
I'm sorry?
They had phones, right?
We had a phone in New York. Oh, yes, right. They had a phone. It wasn't the Dixie cup and the string. No.
Okay.
I didn't have to do it by mail. So, so I just a final thing. So are you a professional musician on Nantucket?
No,
how does that work?
My husband was a musician.
Right.
He worked for a piano company in New York, one of the big piano companies in New York. But music was really a very important part of his life, and he got antsy if he didn't have a piano. So you know, it was a miracle. I mean, it was a great impetus.
It sounds like almost like a happy ever after.
It is
kind of
was a happy ever after,
a happy ever
and the
story.
house is a happy ever after too.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it was hard work. We
Are you
didn't.
still in the same house?
Oh yeah. Oh, but of course, it's not a two-car garage anymore.
No.
The only
No, but
thing,
that-
Horrible.
Well, you know, after 60 years, you think you probably have a few home improvements, you know, so I guess.
well, you know, actually, we did what the old Nantucketers did in those days. We added as we needed.
Right.
And so the first thing, originally, we used to, because it was a piano, we couldn't take the piano into the studio. So the piano was in the garage. So what we did was we put a rug on the floor, comfortable chairs, we put curtains in the window, and we rented it to musicians in the summer because there was a piano
The
there.
piano in the garage.
Garage. And but we rented it to musicians, and it was fine. And you know, the house is right a block from Main Street. We're right there in the heart of everything. And so then afterwards, you know, what we did, we built out from the garage in the front. We built out 6 feet and then it was divided up into rooms. So in this 2-car garage, we had 4 rooms. We had a living room, well, actually 3, a living room, bedroom, a kitchen, and a bathroom. We kept the studio the way it was, and we rented that in the summer. And now it's, and then when we had children and they grew, we built onto it further. But we still have the same studio is the same, and I rent it year round.
That's great. So Ritch, match that. No, so Ritch, same kind of basic question, you know, for people who are seniors here and have now, you know, heard you're senior of the year, but through some miracle, they don't know you yet. So how did you come to be here, and what are you doing here?
Lord knows. It's a very bizarre story. It's just almost as long as Joanne's. I was pretty much a practical joker back in those days. In '73, I came here. And I was out at UMass looking for a place to stay. I was going to go back to school, whatever. And I got a friend said where I was staying. He said, here's a number, call this number right now. They got a job for you in Nantucket. And I went, what is that? I had never been here. And I said, okay, I'll play along with this joke, I thought. So I called the number, and Doris Herrick, who I love dearly, she just passed, answered the phone. And I said, hi, this is Ritch Leone. I understand I have to talk to someone down there about maybe, I don't know, some job sort. She said, yes, Mr. Leone, hold on. I'll put you through to my principal, Melville Brown. And I'm thinking, okay, Nantucket, Melville, Moby Dick, this is going to be good. So she puts me on to him, and I'm like, so Mel, what's going on happening down there? Shoot any whales this week? And it's like, I was a complete idiot. And he kind of obviously got flustered by that. And he said, let me put you back on to my secretary. And Doris gets on the phone again. She says, Mr. Leone, my name is Doris Herrick. I assure you, we are living on Nantucket, and my principal is Melville Brown. We're trying to offer you a job. Oh, put him back on. And he luckily had a sense of humor. I was just apologized profusely. He got it. It was kind of fun. But that was in middle of August. And the thing was, I was hired to be a shop teacher, and I was be the 5th one in 4 years. And the group before me prided themselves in getting rid of the shop teachers. And I found out why. But I was hired August 23rd. I was actually at a summer home we had north of Boston. They said, you have the job. And I went, huh? Thank you, I think. And I had a hightail down here. And I had a job, but I went the very first day of school. I walked into the wood shop. There were no tools, no wood in the entire football team, so it seemed. And in those days, I had a full head of hair and a curly mustache. And I liked to be on stage. I was an actor, did well, and I played the role. Basically saying, I've done it all before you, blah, blah, blah. And as the kids looked at me, their hands across, arms across, like, who's this idiot? And I got through it without shaking too much. And on the way out the door, as I left the class, Bazooka DeLuca, who I love dearly, he passed, Phil DeLuca. He grabbed my hand and says, "Hey, Leone, I give you 2 weeks." I went, okay. I kind of got home that night and called my friends up. And they said, "Get out now. You're a city kid. Get out. Don't do this." Oh, nope. I signed a contract. I'll stay for a year. Longest year of my life. I stayed 34 years teaching at the school system.
Wow.
And I will say, I only taught shop for 4 years. And I wasn't a great shop teacher. It was just part of my training. But I found out the kids in the wood shop were the slugs, like welcome back Cotter types. Go take shop, don't bother me, get away from us, your football, blah, blah. And I found out they just needed someone to hear them. While they were, they had issues they wanted to talk about. And I'm a great listener. And I found out I had a knack for listening to kids and helping them in the long run. And that's kind of been my forte, some of a counselor, the godfather, if you will. But I stayed, and nobody had more fun in that school than I did. I will say that. After 4 years, there's another long story. I wasn't rehired, and they had a rebellion. And it's a too long a story. But
well, that's not an uncommon Nantucket story either. They had a rebel. I've heard about a lot of rebellions in Nantucket.
Well, at this point, it was like 1960 finally hit Nantucket. Because if you're hired after your 3rd year, you automatically have tenure. And very difficult to get rid of a tenured teacher. They didn't want me at that point, or I won't go into that. But anyway, the students walked out of their classes and went down to the gym and had a little, rebellion. And I had gone downtown for mail, whatever. I came back and Doris is running around the parking lot frantic. "Where were you? What's going on? Wait till you see this."
George.
And I walked in the building, and it was like the entire school was in the gymnasium at the time. And it was like, what happened here? The superintendent, her name was Eleanor Grisman. I don't know where she is now, but she said, "I don't appreciate this." And I said, "I didn't do anything. These are all the students. They did this." And I'm a little shocked. But long story short, they hired me back because of I don't know. I didn't know the effect I had on the students. I found out then. I was very, very, very fortunate. And then after that, for that year, I said, I need a break, went to California, took 2 years off, which was unprecedented because you weren't supposed to get a leave of absence until your 7th year, but they figured get rid of him. He wouldn't come back. They were almost right. Went to LA, attended bar for a while with the friends out there. I loved LA back then, but I found out I can get my master's degree for next to nothing because I'm a resident, which I did. And I doubled up on everything, did a 2-year program, 1 year, and surprised myself.
You got the master's out in California.
Yes.
Because you're a local, I get it.
And it was in industrial arts, woodworking. And, I got a job. Gentleman at the bar would come in. His job was to hire teachers for West LA, the better parts of LA, Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Bel Air, Marina Del Rey. He got me a job. He'd come up and say, "You don't belong behind a bar. You belong behind a desk." I was, "Okay, get me something." He did. Got me a job at Marina Del Rey Junior High School. Perfect. That night, I got a phone call from the superintendent. And she said something to the effect that, we're school committee, I'm sending you a letter and drafting it right now. Basically says the school committee doesn't want you back. I said, "Really?" He said, "Ritch, you're spinning your wheels here. You got so much to offer. Stay out there." And I got in the phone. I said, "Eleanor, you know something? I'm coming back and kick butt. I'll leave and I'm damn ready to leave." And she's laughing and I said, "What's up?" She says, "I knew you were going to say that." But basically I came back here for spite. Horrible way to do it, but I did, just to show somebody up. I don't regret it. Obviously I've done pretty well here. It's man of the year. I still don't think neither Joanne or I are seniors yet, but that's okay. Well,
Nobody does. Trust me. No one, when they get the call says, "Yeah, I'm a senior."
What I did, I went, "You must mean the other Ritch Leone, because there is another one." And he's the imposter, I would say. He's the imposter. But anyway, I'm humbled by it. And I'm very happy to, well, it wasn't at first, but I figured, okay, I'm happy to accept this. If they want to do that, sure, I'll do that. But I've been here, the really reason that kept me here the first year was I got involved with the old theater workshop Straight Wolf Theater, and I'd never been on stage before, and I found myself in 5 plays, taking a couple leads and such, and a couple of them. So I'm a ham, and I enjoyed that. That kept me here. The kids kept me here as well, but the idea of Nantucket itself, never been here before. It was magical, as Joanne was saying. Prices even then were cheap enough. And I remember going to Four Winds Craft Grill. They had barrels of whale's teeth, and for $2.
Barrels of whale's teeth.
Whale's teeth for scrimshaw. And I bought a few, give my nephews and such, but I kept a bunch. I started doing scrimshaw years later. But my sister came down with me for the day, and she said, let's buy Mom one of those cute little baskets. Until we look at the price, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. $400 or $500 for a basket? Oh, they're light ship baskets. Long story short, I now, in the 80s, I was doing light ship baskets. I was part of the museum beginning, and I designed a light ship basket frame around mirrors. And I still do them. They were quite pricey, still are, but I sold quite a few. A lot of the larger homes on the island, when I was selling real estate, I'd go in and they have a mirror on the wall. And my customers say, gee, I love that mirror. It's really? Buy the house, I'll give you one. The long story, they didn't buy the house, but they bought the mirror, which was fine with me. But yeah, I've been quite successful with that. I'm still doing them. Just got an order the other day for one, which is great. So I wound up making those cute little baskets, I guess, and I've done quite well with them. They help quite a bit. So that's my story, longer than longer, but yeah, I'm still here. I retired in 08. 08, I retired and made official. There you go.
Wow.
Well, so of all of your extracurricular activities, of which the seniors of the year are nominated for their volunteer participation in their lives, post-retirement or even, pre-retirement. So Joanne, of all of your extracurricular activities, can you pick one out that is your favorite, or maybe just share what some of the things that you do in your spare time are?
Well, in many ways, I'm very lucky because I am very independent. I have there's no one, I don't have, as I used to say, the shoes under the bed are mine. I don't have any responsibility. So I have a lot of free time. I don't play chess or cards. I don't do sports. So my days are pretty free. And so what I decided to do when I started to live here on a more full-time basis, which was about 10 years ago, I decided I would work at the thrift shop, and that's where it started. And little by little, I would ask people. I went to the Athenaeum. I said, "Do you need any help here?" Yes, they did. So I started with them. And then I would go around to places, for example, the Historical Association. I did work at the research library. I in my former life, I was head of a small art library in New York. I have professional library training, and I've been in the book business or the book world all my life. So actually, I was able to find there are lots of jobs here that could use my experience. That's I really, in a sense, and I do want to say this because I think it's important. I was very surprised when I got this award and humbled because of the people. When I look at the people who've gotten it before me, I'm in really august company, including you, Ritch, when I read your CV in the paper. But in a sense, I represent the hundreds of volunteers that give sometimes hours, two days a week, but hours of their busy time to nonprofit organizations to the town who are performing jobs that need to be done, and who the organizations really couldn't function very well. Think of the thrift shop. How could the thrift shop operate without its and the enormous amounts of money that it contributes to the hospital? So in a sense, I represent those people, those unnamed people that are out there doing the work. The only difference between me and them is that I have more time. And so that every day in the week, the 5 days of the week, I work in a different organization, several hours a day. For example, on Monday, I work at the Life Saving Museum. Tuesday, I work at the Athenaeum. Wednesday, I work at the Unitarian Archives in the Meeting House. Thursday, I work at the Thrift Shop. And Friday, I work at the Mariah Mitchell. And in all of these jobs, I'm able to use my past experience as a professional person. And every job is different. It has its own challenges and, its own problems. And it just keeps you active. It keeps your mind active. It keeps your body active. It's perfect.
And I've always told my kids, the most useful things that you do are the things you don't get paid for. The
Exactly.
things you don't get paid for.
Because you love to do it. Because you love it.
Exactly. So Ritch, what about you? What about you?
Number one, Joanne blows me away. I mean, just incredible woman. I haven't met you. I look forward to meeting you, but you've done quite a bit. You blow me out of the water. I'm still involved with the school. I go up there and help on the woodshop class, which I really enjoy doing. I go up as often as I can. I almost have carte blanche to go in there now, according to the assistant principal. But my big thing, I guess, is because I worked with FEMA. I started in FEMA back in 2009. I've been with it for 11 years. And my job is to help disaster victims. I get to go out really there the next day to get them registered for help. But I also do my bosses were always crazy to think, how do you do that? As far as I see someone at the absolute worst, some of them are screaming and yelling, and I always get a chance to talk to them, calm them down, and help them. It's a good extension of my teaching, basically, is how I look at it, to get them calm and to get them some help. I really enjoy doing it. I've been ill-list for the past 3.5 years now. I've got some issues. My last job was working Hurricane Harvey in Texas for 3 months. And I really enjoy helping people. That's my big thing, I guess. And I just had a counseling session this morning with someone, helping them. I found out I'm a good counselor without hanging a shingle out. And I like to do that. And that's basically my biggest thing as far as helping out. And it's not voluntary, I will tell you, I get paid for that. Government job. And but I do see how the government doesn't work, if you will. It's crazy, but I'm glad to be very part of it. And I, as Joanne is, I'm humbled to be part of this. Whereas if I had the accomplishment she has, I feel better about this. But that's about it for me on that one.
So when one of the first things that Alison told me, Alison gave me several of my great one-liners for Nantucket, and she said one of the lines is, you come for the beach and you stay for the people. And the beaches get old and the people get old, but the people age better than the beach does. And this was wonderful. Alison, thanks for doing this. We've done this a couple of years, and it's just really special. And I think, and thank you folks for being on, because I think for people who haven't heard those stories, they're just the essence. They're the essence of kind of what's special about Nantucket. So this is as Alison is.
Oh, thank you. I just want to put a pitch in for the senior of 2022. The Council on Aging, which meets once a month, will be putting ads in the paper, etc., for people to nominate seniors of the year. And it's been great having lots of nominations. It's interesting to see new people who are nominated, but there is an application process that you nominate somebody, you tell the council why you think that they are deserving of the Senior of the Year award. And then we have a very difficult time choosing the winners. And it's great that most of the time, I mean, since I've been on the Council on Aging, everyone who has been nominated has taken the honor and ran with it. So thank you guys both for coming on, and thank you for agreeing to be Seniors of the Year. And hopefully we'll have some time of, there'll be some celebration. It would be great to have an outdoor luncheon somewhere we'll see. Coming right up. Alison, yes, thank you.
This was one. Thank you, folks. It was just wonderful to meet the both of you.
Thank you both.
Thank you
very
so much, Allison. This was just terrific, folks. So if you can top that, or if you know somebody who can top that, well, then you should nominate him for Senior of the Year. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you in the next show. Bye-bye.
Take care.